The massive alien ship gleamed like polished silver as it approached Earth's orbital station Alpha. Inside the station's main conference room, Ambassador Tom Smith adjusted his tie for the 10th time. After 6 months of remote communications, the Galactic Council's delegation had finally arrived for face-to-face talks about Earth joining their interstellar community. "Remember, everyone, stay calm and follow the protocols," he told his team, trying to hide his own nervousness. The room's displays showed the alien ship extending its docking bridge, its surface rippling like liquid metal. 10 minutes later, the delegation entered. The aliens moved with fluid grace, their tall, slender forms covered in shimmering robes that changed color with each movement. Their leader, High Counselor Blue, stood nearly 8 feet tall. Despite their intimidating height, their large eyes and gentle movements gave them an almost peaceful appearance. "Welcome to Earth's orbital station Alpha," Smith said, bowing slightly. "We're honored to host the Galactic Council's delegation." Blue's translator device hummed softly before responding. "The honor is mutual, Ambassador Smith. Your species has shown remarkable progress in recent decades." The initial greetings went smoothly. Smith's team had spent months studying alien diplomatic protocols, and it showed. The human delegation guided their guests through the station's main areas, explaining Earth's space capabilities and technological achievements. Everything was going perfectly until they reached the station's commercial sector. "And this is our civilian space transit terminal," Smith explained, leading them through the bustling area. "We have regular passenger ships traveling between Earth, Mars, and our lunar colonies." Blue stopped suddenly, their robes shifting to a deep purple. The aliens' eyes fixed on a large advertisement display, showing a massive cruise ship floating in Earth's orbit. The video showed smiling humans walking on deck, swimming in pools, and dining in restaurants. "Ambassador Smith," Blue's voice had an odd tone. "What is this facility?" "Oh, that's the newest luxury cruise ship, the Star Wanderer. It's a pleasure vessel, Fat." "Pleasure vessel?" Another alien counselor interrupted, their robe flashing a bright yellow. "You confine your people in such a structure for pleasure?" Smith blinked in confusion. "Well, yes. People pay good money to. They pay." Blue's translator couldn't quite capture the mix of horror and disbelief in their voice. The entire alien delegation's robes had shifted to various shades of alarmed colors. The advertisement continued playing, showing interior shots of cabin rooms. To Smith, they looked perfectly luxurious, but he noticed the aliens' growing distress. "These chambers," Blue pointed at the cabin footage, "they're so confined, and the humans are locked inside while in space." "Not locked," Smith corrected quickly. "The doors open freely. Passengers can move around the ship as they please, but they cannot leave." Another counselor asked. "Well, no, not while we're in space, obviously." The aliens huddled together, speaking rapidly in their native language. Their robes swirled with colors Smith had never seen before. When they turned back, Blue's expression was grave. "Ambassador Smith, we must discuss something of great concern. Your species, these vessels you've shown us, they bear striking similarities to what we consider prison ships." Smith's jaw dropped. "Prison ships? No, you've misunderstood. These are luxury vessels. People go on cruises for vacation, for fun." "Fun?" Blue seemed to struggle with the concept. "You mean to tell us that humans voluntarily confine themselves in small chambers, subject themselves to artificial environmental conditions, follow structured time schedules for meals and activities, and pay currency for this experience?" Put that way, Smith had to admit it sounded strange. "Well, yes, but..." "And these vessels," Blue continued, gesturing at another advertisement showing multiple cruise ships, "how many do you operate?" "Currently, about 50 in Earth orbit alone, with another 20 under construction." The aliens' robes shifted to deep blue, a color Smith's cultural briefing had associated with extreme concern. 50 vessels. Blue's voice was barely a whisper. each capable of holding thousands of humans, voluntarily confined. Not confined, Smith protested. Look, I think we're having a cultural misunderstanding here. These ships are the height of luxury. People save up money all year to spend time on them. They have restaurants, theaters, swimming pools, artificial water containment chambers. Another counselor's robe flashed with patterns of distress, where humans voluntarily submerge themselves. Smith felt a headache coming on. Yes, but... And they consume food at predetermined times in designated locations. The restaurants are open most of the day, actually. Most of the day. Blue's translator crackled with alarm. You mean there are periods when humans are denied access to nutrition? Smith looked helplessly at his team. How had a simple tour gone so wrong? The aliens were now examining every cruise ship advertisement with increasing agitation, pointing out what they saw as signs of mass imprisonment. Cabin layouts, daily activity schedules, even the safety protocols. Perhaps, Blue said finally, we should return to the conference room. We need to discuss these facilities in detail before proceeding with membership negotiations. As they walked back, Smith overheard two counselors speaking quietly, their translators barely picking up the words. Their entire species must be remarkably resilient to endure such conditions willingly, or remarkably strange. Did you see? They even have smaller versions of these vessels that operate on their oceans. Smith suppressed a groan. He had a feeling this would be a very long diplomatic meeting. How could he explain the concept of a relaxing cruise to beings who apparently viewed any form of confined space as torture? Looking at his tablet, he saw another problem coming. Tomorrow's scheduled tour of the new Mars-Jupiter luxury liner would need some serious diplomatic reframing. Maybe he should avoid mentioning the all-inclusive packages and confined cabin upgrades altogether. At least they hadn't seen the advertisements for submarine tours yet. Ambassador Smith sat in his office, surrounded by holographic displays showing various cruise ship brochures. After yesterday's disastrous tour, he needed to find a way to explain the concept of recreational travel to the aliens. His head throbbed as he remembered High Counselor Blue's final words from the previous day. We cannot, in good conscience, admit a species that imprisons its own people for entertainment. A soft chime announced the arrival of Dr. Kate Wilson, Earth's leading xenobiologist. She walked in carrying several data tablets. Please tell me you have good news, Smith said, rubbing his temples. Well, she said, settling into a chair, I've been studying the Galactic Council's species profile. Their homeworld has no large bodies of water, only scattered shallow pools. They evolved in vast open plains and never developed any concept of enclosed recreational spaces. That explains their reaction to the swimming pools, Smith muttered. It gets better, Wilson continued. Their species experiences severe anxiety in enclosed spaces. Even their spaceships are designed with massive open areas and virtual sky projections. The idea of voluntarily entering a confined space for fun is literally incomprehensible to them. Before Smith could respond, his communication panel lit up. The aliens had arrived for their scheduled meeting. Minutes later, High Counselor Blue and 3 other council members glided into the office, their robes shifting between concerned shades of blue and purple. Ambassador Smith, Blue began, we have reviewed the information about your pleasure vessels. We have questions. Smith gestured toward the seats, but the aliens remained standing. Another cultural difference, they preferred to move freely during discussions. These advertisements, Blue waved a slender hand, and one of their assistants projected an image of a cruise ship's interior. They show humans in formal attire, following specific dress codes for different ship areas. This is clearly a form of enforced uniformity. Actually, Wilson stepped in. Humans enjoy dressing up for special occasions. It's part of the experience. They enjoy being told what to wear. An alien counselor's robe rippled with confusion. Not told, Smith explained. Choosing to wear elegant clothes for elegant events. Like Like how your robes change colors to match your emotions. It's a form of expression. The aliens conferred briefly in their native language, and these structured activities. Blue pointed to a cruise itinerary, designated times for entertainment, exercise, and social interaction. Those are optional, Smith said quickly. Nobody has to participate. They're suggestions, not rules. Optional imprisonment is still imprisonment, one of the counselors stated firmly. Smith fought the urge to bang his head against his desk. Instead, he pulled up a new hologram, passenger reviews of various cruises. Look at these testimonials. People describing their experiences as relaxing, rejuvenating, the best vacation ever. These aren't prisoners. They're happy customers. The aliens study the reviews with their large eyes, their robes swirling with patterns that suggested deep thought. Perhaps, Blue said slowly, we should discuss the concept of vacation. Our data suggests it means a period of voluntary cessation of regular duties. Yes, Smith latched onto this glimpse of understanding. Humans work hard, and sometimes they need time to rest and recover. Cruise ships provide a chance to relax without worrying about daily responsibilities. By being confined in a floating metal structure. An alien counselor's robe flashed skeptical patterns. Wilson stepped in again. Think of it this way. Humans evolved in environments where finding food, shelter, and safety required constant effort. Having all our needs met in a comfortable, controlled environment can be deeply relaxing for us. Fascinating, Blue murmured, and disturbing. Your species finds comfort in conditions we would consider psychologically damaging. Different evolutionary paths, different comfort zones, Wilson explained. Just as you need open spaces, we sometimes enjoy cozy ones. Cozy. The translator struggled with the word. Comfortable because it's enclosed, Smith tried to explain. Like how some humans enjoy being wrapped in warm blankets. This led to a 10-minute tangent explaining blankets, during which the aliens' robes displayed entirely new patterns of bewilderment. Let us confirm our understanding, Blue said finally. Humans voluntarily enter these vessels, knowing they will be surrounded by walls and artificial environments, following suggested schedules and dress codes, eating at regular intervals. Yes, Smith nodded encouragingly. And they do this because it removes the stress of making constant survival decisions. That's actually a pretty good way to put it. The aliens conferred again, their robes shifting through various shades of contemplation. We have another concern, Blue announced. These cruise ships appear to be training facilities for space travel. You are conditioning your population to accept confined spaces and regulated schedules. Smith blinked. What? No, that's not. The evidence is clear, another counselor interrupted. These vessels prepare humans for long-term space missions by normalizing confined living conditions. It is a clever strategy. Wilson caught Smith's eye and gave a slight nod, maybe letting them believe this was better than further attempts to explain tourism. We will need to discuss this development with the full council, Blue declared. A species capable of voluntarily adapting to confined spaces could be valuable to the galactic community. As the aliens filed out, Smith collapsed in his chair. Well, that went differently than expected. Wilson smiled. Look on the bright side. They'd gone from thinking we're running prison ships to thinking we're running secret training programs. That's progress, right? I suppose. Smith looked at his schedule and groaned. Tomorrow they want to discuss theme parks. How do I explain roller coasters to a species that fears enclosed spaces? One cultural misunderstanding at a time. Wilson patted his shoulder. At least they haven't discovered water parks yet. Through the window, they watched the alien ship orbiting above, its vast, open decks a stark contrast to the cruise ships below. Smith made a mental note. If Earth joined the Galactic Council, someone would make a fortune designing cruise ships with both human and alien comfort zones in mind. He just hoped the aliens never found out about camping. This is either going to be a huge success or a diplomatic disaster, Ambassador Smith muttered as he watched the alien delegation approach the boarding area of the Paradise of the Seas. Earth's largest cruise ship floated majestically in low orbit, its 18 decks gleaming in the sunlight. High Counselor Blue and 5 other alien representatives moved cautiously along the transparent boarding tube, their robes swirling with colors that suggested a mix of anxiety and curiosity. Dr. Wilson walked beside them, offering reassurance about the ship's safety features. Captain Laura Reed waited at the ship's entrance, her crisp white uniform drawing concerned glances from the aliens. "Welcome aboard the Paradise of the Seas," she said with a warm smile. "We've prepared a complete tour of our facilities. Your containment uniform is very authoritative," Blue observed, robe flickering with worry. "It's a tradition dating back centuries," Smith explained quickly. "Ship captains wear white as a symbol of cleanliness and safety." "Ah, a hygiene protocol. This we understand." The aliens' robes settled into slightly calmer patterns. The tour began in the ship's grand atrium, a space deliberately chosen for its high ceilings and open design. Even so, Blue's delegation huddled close together, their robes rippling with nervous energy. "This is our main gathering space," Captain Reed explained. "Passengers come here to..." She was interrupted by a group of laughing children running past, chasing floating bubble toys. The aliens watched in astonishment as the kids weaved between adults, clearly having the time of their lives. "Those small humans," one counselor said, "they appear to be enjoying their confinement." "Kids usually love cruise ships," Wilson explained. "There are lots of activities designed just for them. You confine your young in specialized activity areas." Blue's translator crackled with concern. Before Smith could correct this misunderstanding, they reached the first pool area. Hundreds of passengers were swimming, lounging on deck chairs, or enjoying drinks at the pool bar. Music played softly in the background while waiters carried colorful beverages on trays. The aliens' robes shifted to a previously unseen shade of confusion. They submerged themselves in artificial water while others watch. Blue asked incredulously, "It's called swimming." "It's fun and good exercise," Wilson explained. "And the others are sunbathing, absorbing vitamin D from the artificial sun lamps. Voluntary exposure to radiation." Another counselor's robe flashed alarmed patterns. Smith decided it was time to move on. They headed to the dining areas, where the breakfast buffet was in full swing. Humans lined up with plates, selecting from dozens of different dishes. "What is this behavior?" Blue asked, watching the buffet line. "Why do they queue for nutrition distribution?" "They're choosing what they want to eat," Smith explained. "Different foods from all over Earth. People enjoy having variety." The aliens watched in fascination as a man piled his plate with pancakes, bacon, eggs, and fruit. "And they select their own portion sizes?" one counselor asked, "without metabolic regulation." "Yes, that's part of the appeal," Captain Reed said. "Our chefs prepare fresh food all day." "Remarkable," Blue murmured. "Your species voluntarily practices food selection as entertainment." The tour continued through various entertainment venues. They passed a theater where a magic show was in progress, causing the aliens to freeze in alarm when the magician appeared to saw his assistant in half. "It's not real," Smith assured them quickly. "It's just entertainment. Illusions for fun. Your people enjoy being deceived." Blue's robe swirled with bewilderment. They moved on to the shopping area, where the aliens became particularly confused by the concept of buying souvenirs. They purchase objects to remind them of their voluntary confinement. A counselor asked. "To remember their vacation," Wilson corrected. The real challenge came when they reached the cabin areas. Despite choosing to show them the largest suite available, the aliens still seemed horrified by the concept of sleeping in enclosed rooms. "But where is the sky simulator?" Blue asked, looking at the ceiling. "We have windows," Captain Reed pointed out. Small transparent sections do not constitute proper spatial freedom, one counselor muttered. The situation improved somewhat when they reached the top deck observation area. The aliens' robes settled into calmer colors as they looked out at Earth below and the stars above. "This area is acceptable," Blue declared, "though we note most humans seem to prefer the enclosed spaces below." "Different species, different comforts," Wilson reminded them. The tour's final stop was the ship's booking office, where they witnessed something that seemed to particularly disturb the aliens. Humans eagerly signing up and paying for future cruises. They are so eager for confinement that they reserve it in advance. Blue asked. "Some cruises sell out months ahead," Captain Reed said proudly. The aliens huddled together, speaking rapidly in their own language while their robes cycled through various colors. Finally, Blue turned to Smith. "Ambassador, we have reached several conclusions. First, your species has an extraordinary capacity for adapting to confined spaces. Second, you have somehow transformed this adaptation into a desirable recreational activity. Third, you have developed an entire economic system around voluntary confinement." "That's one way to put it," Smith said carefully. "Most remarkably," Blue continued, "your people appeared genuinely happy in these conditions. We observed no signs of distress, despite the clear lack of proper spatial freedom." "So you understand these aren't prison ships?" Smith asked hopefully. "We understand that they are something far more fascinating," Blue replied. "They are evidence of your species' unique psychological flexibility. This could be valuable to the galactic community." As they headed back to the boarding tube, Smith noticed Blue taking one last look at the happy passengers enjoying their confinement. "Tell me, Ambassador," Blue asked quietly, "do all humans adapt so well to enclosed spaces?" "Most of us do fine," Smith replied. "Some even prefer them." "Fascinating." Blue's robe rippled with thoughtful patterns. "The Council will need to seriously reconsider humanity's potential role in galactic affairs." Walking back to their ship, Smith overheard two counselors speaking. "If they enjoy this level of confinement for pleasure, imagine their potential for long-term space missions." "Indeed, though we should probably wait to show them our deep space vessels. They might find them uncomfortably spacious." Smith smiled. Sometimes a misunderstanding could turn into an advantage. He just hoped they never had to explain the concept of submarine tours to the Council. Back in Earth's orbital station, Ambassador Smith sat in a conference room with Dr. Wilson and Captain Reed, watching the recordings from their cruise ship tour. On the main screen, High Counselor Blue and the other aliens were discovering the mini golf course, their robes cycling through colors of confusion as they watched humans deliberately hit small balls into tiny holes. "They've been in closed meetings for 3 days now," Smith said, pausing the recording. "Either we've completely ruined our chances of joining the Galactic Council, or we've somehow impressed them," Wilson finished. "Did you notice how their robes changed color when they saw the children's play area? That wasn't just confusion. There was something else there." Before they could discuss it further, the room's communication panel lit up with an urgent message. The alien delegation requested an immediate meeting. 20 minutes later, High Counselor Blue and a new group of alien experts glided into the room. Their robes displayed complex patterns none of the humans had seen before. "Ambassador Smith," Blue began, "we have spent considerable time analyzing what we learned aboard your recreational vessel. We have questions about human psychology." Smith nodded cautiously. "Dr. Wilson would be happy to. Your species deliberately seeks out confined spaces for relaxation," one of the new aliens interrupted. "Its robe identified it as a xenopsychologist. This trait appears throughout your culture. You build small rooms for sleeping, enclosed vehicles for transportation, and now these massive ships for entertainment." "Well, yes," Wilson replied. "Humans often find comfort in what we call cozy spaces, and this trait develops naturally." Another alien expert asked. "Without genetic modification?" "Completely natural," Wilson confirmed. Though some humans prefer open spaces, most of us are comfortable in enclosed environments from childhood. The aliens conferred briefly, their robes swirling with excited patterns. "Show them," Blue instructed. One of the aliens activated a holographic display. It showed a massive spacecraft, unlike anything the humans had seen before. Its interior was a vast, open space with barely any walls or divisions. "This is a standard Galactic Council deep space vessel," Blue explained, "designed for long-term exploration missions. No species we have encountered can crew these ships effectively for more than a few months. The psychological strain of enclosed spaces, even ones as open as this, becomes unbearable." Smith looked at the ship's specifications, scrolling past. "Those are very large ships." "Necessarily so," the xenopsychologist said. "Our peoples require vast spaces for psychological health. But this creates problems. Large ships are harder to power, harder to shield, harder to land on planets. We have been seeking solutions for centuries." And then, Blue's robe rippled with what seemed like amusement. "We discovered a species that not only tolerates confined spaces, but creates them for entertainment." Wilson sat up straighter. "You're saying our ability to handle small spaces could be valuable?" "Valuable." The xenopsychologist's robe flickered with enthusiasm. "It could revolutionize deep space exploration. Your cruise ship crews live in smaller quarters than our emergency escape pods." Captain Reed smiled. "Those are actually our luxury cabins. You should see the crew quarters on cargo ships." The aliens' robes all shifted to a new color, something between shock and admiration. "There's more," Blue continued. "We observed how your people handle regulated schedules, restricted movement areas, and limited social groups. These are all crucial skills for long-term space missions. Skills we thought had to be developed through extensive training." Another alien added, "Yet your species treats them as entertainment." Smith began to understand. "So our cruise ships are inadvertently perfect training grounds for deep space psychology," Blue finished. "Your entire species has been conditioning itself for space travel through entertainment." The aliens displayed more holograms, designs for new ships that combine their advanced technology with human-sized living quarters. The efficiency gains were staggering. "A ship this size," Blue explained, pointing to one design, "with human-scaled crew areas, could operate with 1/3 the power requirements of our current vessels. It could reach other galaxies in a single generation." "And you think humans would be interested in crewing these ships?" Smith asked. The xenopsychologist's robe rippled with what might have been laughter. "Ambassador, we watched humans pay currency to live in smaller spaces than these. We believe finding volunteers will not be difficult." "There is, however, one concern," Blue said. "We noticed many of your people engaged in an unusual behavior during the cruise ship tour. They stood at windows or on open decks, looking at the stars with what our emotion sensors detected as longing." Wilson smiled. "Humans have always dreamed of exploring space. We're comfortable in small spaces, but we use them as a way to reach big ones." The aliens conferred again, their robes displaying complex patterns of excitement and consideration. "Ambassador Smith," Blue announced finally, "the Council has a proposal. We believe humanity's unique psychological adaptations make you ideal partners for our deep space exploration program. Would your people be interested in helping us reach the stars?" Smith looked at Wilson and Reed, who were both grinning. "I think we might know a few million humans who would jump at the chance." "Excellent." Blue's robe shifted to a bright, pleased color. "Though we should discuss one other matter. Our sensors detected multiple humans on your cruise ship engaging in something called karaoke. Is this some form of ritual combat?" "Actually," Smith said, trying not to laugh, "that's another form of entertainment, though some might call it combat." As the meeting continued, Smith couldn't help but smile at the irony. What had started as a cultural misunderstanding about prison ships had led to humanity's unique ticket to the stars. though he did wonder how the aliens would react when they discovered that humans also voluntarily confined themselves in spacesuits just to float in open space for fun. Some cultural differences, he decided, could wait for another day. 1 month after the crewed ship tour, Ambassador Smith stood in front of the full Galactic Council. The massive chamber, designed to accommodate various alien species, stretched so high its ceiling disappeared into darkness. Around him, hundreds of delegates from different worlds sat in rising tiers, their robes creating a swirling ocean of colors. High Counselor Blue stood at the central podium, addressing the assembly. Honored representatives, we are here to vote on 2 unprecedented proposals. First, the admission of humanity to the Galactic Council. Second, the creation of a new joint space exploration initiative, with humans as primary crew members. A low murmur filled the chamber as various species discussed among themselves. Their translators created a soft buzz of overlapping languages. Before we vote, Blue continued, Ambassador Smith has prepared a presentation about humanity's unique qualifications. Smith stepped forward, trying to hide his nervousness. The next few minutes could determine humanity's future among the stars. Behind him, a holographic display activated, showing the paradise of the Seas cruise ship. Distinguished council members, he began, this is not, as some of you first assumed, a prison ship. This is how humans choose to spend their vacations. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Smith had expected this reaction. Dr. Wilson had helped him prepare for it. Yes, we voluntarily live in enclosed spaces. Yes, we find comfort in regulated environments. And yes, we pay for the privilege. He paused as the translators caught up. But more importantly, we use these experiences to dream of something bigger. The display changed to show humans throughout history. Ancient sailors in tiny cabins crossing vast oceans, submariners exploring the deep in cramped vessels, astronauts in confined capsules reaching for the moon. My species has always used small spaces to reach big ones, Smith continued. We're comfortable in confined areas not because we love confinement, but because we love exploration more. The display shifted to the new ship designs, the hybrid vessels that combined alien technology with human-scaled living quarters. Your deep space ships are magnificent, Smith said, but they're too large to be efficient. Our ability to live comfortably in smaller spaces could revolutionize space exploration. We don't see it as a hardship. We've been practicing for this our entire history. A delegate from a gaseous species spoke up, its translator crackling. But what about the psychological strain? Even short-term space missions affect most species severely. Smith smiled and brought up footage from the cruise ship's final day. These passengers had just spent 2 weeks in space, in quarters much smaller than your proposed ships. Look at them. The footage showed humans laughing, playing games, exercising, and enjoying themselves. Most notably, it showed them eagerly booking their next trips. We don't just tolerate these conditions, Smith explained. We seek them out. We enjoy them. And most importantly, we use them to fuel our dreams of exploring further. Another delegate, a crystalline being, chimed in. But surely your species must have some limits. Some breaking point. Smith nodded to Dr. Wilson, who had been waiting at the side. She stepped forward and activated a new display, showing data from various human space missions and simulations. We've tested those limits extensively, she explained. Humans have lived in underground bunkers, underwater facilities, and space stations. We've run year-long isolation experiments. Some humans even choose to live in tiny homes for their entire lives. The chamber buzzed with amazed discussions. Blue raised a hand for silence. There is another factor to consider, Blue announced. Show them. The display changed to show the results of a survey that had been conducted on Earth over the past month. The question was simple. Would you volunteer for long-term deep space exploration missions? The response numbers were overwhelming. Over 10 million humans have already volunteered, Smith said proudly. And that's before we even announced the actual program. A ripple of astonished colors swept through the aliens' robes. But the most interesting part, Smith continued, was their main concern about the mission. He brought up another survey result. They're worried the quarters might be too spacious. They're actually requesting more compact living spaces to improve ship efficiency. This statement caused such a commotion that Blue had to call for order several times. We put the same humans in one of our standard ship simulators, Blue added. They described it as wastefully roomy and suggested ways to add more functional areas by dividing the space. The chamber erupted in discussions again. Smith waited patiently as the council members debated among themselves, their robes shifting through various colors of consideration and excitement. Finally, Blue called for the vote. The chamber lit up with thousands of color patterns as each species registered their decision. The results are clear, Blue announced. Both proposals have passed. Humanity is now a member of the Galactic Council, and the Joint Space Exploration Initiative is approved. Smith felt a wave of relief and pride. Then Blue added something unexpected. However, we have one condition. Blue's robe rippled with what Smith had learned to recognize as amusement. Before we begin the deep space program, we request that human cruise ship designers help us modify our existing vessels. It seems inefficient to waste so much space. After the ceremony, Smith sat in his office, looking at the official membership documents. Dr. Wilson and Captain Reed joined him, bringing a bottle of champagne. "Should we tell them about submarines yet?" Reed asked, grinning. "Let's wait," Smith replied. "Though I did book myself on one of their luxury cruise ships next month. Their shortest trip is 3 years, but they promised me the smallest cabin they could find." "How did they react to that request?" Wilson asked. "They thought I was joking. Then they were horrified. Then they were fascinated." Smith laughed. Pretty much the usual reaction to humans. Looking out his window at the stars, Smith could see both alien and human ships in orbit. Soon, they would venture out together, each species contributing their unique strengths. The aliens had their advanced technology and vast knowledge of the galaxy. And humans had their dreams of exploration and their strange ability to turn confinement into comfort. "You know what's really funny?" Wilson said, following his gaze. "All those years of building cruise ships, and we were accidentally preparing ourselves for the greatest journey of all." "Not accidentally," Smith corrected. "We built those ships because we wanted to explore, to go places we'd never been. We just never realized that our way of exploring would turn out to be our greatest asset." As they celebrated, a message came in from the Galactic Council. They wanted to discuss another strange human habit they'd discovered. Something called camping, where humans voluntarily slept in tiny fabric shelters on the ground. Smith decided that explanation could wait for another day. One cultural misunderstanding at a time was enough.